Losing someone isn't easy, especially if it's someone you have known for such a long time. If it's a friend or a family member, losing someone that you really cared so much about, it's never easy. Sometimes you may never even get it over, especially if there's someone you really cared so much about, and losing that person during its during circumstances is never easy. I can say for certain that I did lose my best friend Amanda. And no, she is not dead. She is still alive, but we hadn't even talked since last year of the summer 2022. And it's a quite a long story, but I will only bring in certain parts that I was aware of. Um, just saying, if someone says, you were the cause of this to happen, I would say right now, in my defense, I'm not the one to trigger this at all. I wasn't even aware of this until it actually happened. But anyways, like I said, it's a quite a story, and here it is. My name is Alice, and this is a brief backstory to what happened. Me and my ex-best friend Amanda met in middle school. Ever since the first day, we became best friends. We were inseparable. We were even like sisters. We did all kinds of things together. I mean, we were the same age, and we turned out we didn't live that far from each other. And it's surprising how our families even interacted, and my parents became best friends with Amanda's parents. And we were like a big happy family. And I was just happy about all this, honestly. And and like I said, it happened in the summer of 2022. I never went to college, so I was shortly after high school was over, I started working. And I work in this retail store, and it's some place I actually love. Just in case, so to say, mention it. But anyways, me and Amanda were still close friends, despite that being had been a few years after high school was over. She was working at this local pets shop, and I was really happy for her to get her dream job. But one day, when me and Amanda were at the bar for a Friday just to have a girls' night out, she mentioned that a guy named David, only 1 year older than her and us. She told me about this guy that they have been dating now for at least a couple of weeks. And this was in fact the first time she even mentioned it of a guy that she's dating. Ever since we are so very close best friends, we don't even we always share some news, even if it's a small one or a big one. But never mind it. I just told her I was happy, and I asked her if she had a photo of or this guy. She did. She showed me on her phone, and it's like that guy is very cute, and she did ask me if I would like to meet him, and I was like, yeah, I mean, but sadly, David was not available that particular evening. He was actually with his family for something. I don't remember exactly what it was. And but we made plans to meet up with David the next weekend. When the next weekend came, we actually met up at the same bar on a Saturday. I came beat first around 6 p.m. and Amanda showed up around maybe 10 minutes later. Shortly afterwards, David showed up. And it was actually the same guy in the photo. And I still thought that he was cute and that I'm happy for my friend to have found a very good looking guy. Because during the past week before, she had told me all kinds of things about him. He's smart, he's brave, he's loyal, and one that she didn't mention, just before that, the day before the next week we're supposed to meet, they actually had made it official as a couple. And I was happy for her. We started having a good conversation, and I can see why David was attracted to Amanda. I mean, she was a gorgeous brunette, slim body, brown eyes, and it's just, I can understand why. Just been saying that, even though that's not irrelevant, but you just want to mention it. But despite this, I felt happy for my best friend who had found a guy that she could be potentially be marrying one day. After my first meeting with David, Amanda did ask me over phone the next day what I thought about him. I said that he seems to be a decent, good-looking guy, smart, as she said, very polite and very has a good sense of humor. And that was actually not the things that start all this. But sometimes it happened that me, Amanda, when we were just hanging out, um, David actually decided he wanted to know more about his girlfriend's best friend. So she invited him to be um, with us. And I was really not much against it, honestly. I was just happy that she brought him in with us to just get to know her best friend even better. This was around late May, and sometimes in early June, things started to strangely acting about this. Almost every time when Amanda told David that she was going to meet with me, he'd almost immediately insisted that he was going to be with her. He wasn't obsessed with controlling of her life or anything. He didn't say anything like that she was talking bad about his behind his back or something. He wanted to be one around being around her a lot more. And when she asked me about it, I was a little bit hesitating at first, but yeah, I was not okay. I wasn't against it. But then it was around mid-June when one noon I received a text message from Amanda. I was like, "Oh, I wonder what you want." And when I first read it, it was shocking. She accused me with flirting with David. This was unlike any of her character. She had never accused me of anything before. It was unlike her. Thought maybe this was some sort of prank or something, a joke. But if it was a joke, it was a bad one. I mean, it's not even a funny joke either. When I asked her what she meant about it, she texted me and then she actually called me and said that I have been flirting with David. I asked her what she even had even a audacity to even think of that. She's my best friend. Why would I even want to mess up with my best friend's new relationship? And I even asked her who or how she even had any of this crazy idea that I was flirting with David. Turn out, David had told her by some sort of story that I was flirting with him when she was in the restrooms or something, or when she wanted new drinks, which is a complete lie. And I told her, "Do you know me way longer than David? Do you actually believe over your best friend, that someone you had known for such a long time?" She was actually quite quiet for a moment. And she said sorry that she at first couldn't even believe it. And I told her, "Well, if do you have any actual, or did he have any actual evidence of me even flirting with him, like say text messages or even videos of us during some flirtatious?" She said no. Exactly. I told her exactly my point. Because you can't just start going around making accusations without any actual proof. I forgave her. I told her that I'm actually her best friend. We're almost seeing each other as sisters. I would never want to do anything like this. And in fact, when we were in high school, I told her when she did had a boyfriend, when she caught him cheating, I was there to comfort her, no matter what happened. She did the same thing when I lost my boyfriend in high school. So we were always there for each other, no matter what happened, and she understood that. So she dropped it. But the same thing happened again, only a couple of weeks later. Once again, she did accuse me over the phone that I had been flirting with David. I was getting a bit annoyed about this and tired of these accusations, and I told her, like last week, the last time we did had this conversation, any proof? She claimed that she actually had. Then I said, well, show me the photo, any of those conversations or any of the proof you have. After she hung up the call, she did send me a few screenshots of conversations. And I immediately told her, that's not even me. Because I even asked her, have you seen the actual number that I've been texting him? She said, no. Next time when he's over, look at the number if there's a match to mine. She did. And it was not even a match. And she asked him about it, and told me later that once again he accused me of doing it because she claimed that I had a second phone which I used in order to text him. But why would I even need two phones? Mine works perfectly fine, I told her. But still, for some reason now, she started believing him over her oldest friend. But I just kept ignored all that. But eventually, by the end of the June, I received another call from Amanda. She told me that David just dumped her because he confessed to her he was no longer in love with her, but he was in love with someone else. You guessed it, it was me. He literally confessed to Amanda that he had a crush on her best friend Alice, which would be me. I was dumbfounded. And I told her, even when she's told me that I thought that he was cute, I said, yeah, he's a cute, good-looking guy, but I'm not even interested in him. In fact, I told her I already had a new boyfriend, and his name was Kevin. She didn't believe me. And then I showed her a photo of me with Kevin together on her phone. And then she accused me of cheating on Kevin with her ex-boyfriend David. I was so tired of this, so I hang up and texted her, calm down, text me when you're calm down, and don't accuse me of doing this. But it didn't. Only a few hours later, I received another text message, but it wasn't even from Amanda. It was from Kevin. Kevin asked me if I knew a guy named David. Yeah, I told him that was my friend's ex-boyfriend, and luckily for I had informed Kevin all of this drama had been happening, and he did believe me. Just a heads up, Kevin is actually an old friend of mine from high school, so we had known each other for a long time as well. So he believed me over any of David's accusations. He told Kevin that he and I have been now having a secret affair on his behind Kevin's back. But Kevin just told him that's not even real, and don't even try to make it happen to be real. Meaning, he brushed it off, and he told David to just don't make such lies about my girlfriend anymore. And regardless of what proof you actually have, I won't believe any of that because that's clearly made by you. And it was a sign of how things would eventually turn dark, because ever since in early July of that year, things started acting a little strange because when I was actually at work, I did notice that David showed up just maybe once or twice a week, or at least twice in the in July. Okay, first, he knew exactly where I was working since I told him that when he was still dating Amanda. But long story short, he just came in, just looked around, and he and I had a small conversation. But then he started coming to my store almost every single day, almost in the two first weeks of July. And when it was July 4th, I was had a day off, which since it's an Independence Day. Since normally my family and Amanda's family celebrated together. My parents went over to celebrate with her family, but I didn't go because 35 was happened only a couple of months, at least a couple of weeks earlier. So I was at home. Luckily though, I was at home alone. I had Kevin and, well, we just ordered pizza and just, order pizza and watch some movies and later watch the fireworks together. But then, around, I think it was maybe 9 p.m., there was a knock on the door. And Kevin went open the door and he's like, David, what are you doing here? Is Alice here? He said. It was clearly he was drunk. Like, really drunk. Kevin was trying to act calmly and said, Dude, you should go home and don't show up here complete wasted next time. But David didn't take that kindly and started accusing me for cheating on him. I was like, what? I told him when I stood behind Kevin, David, we are not even dating. And he started bawling his eyes out and claiming that we were dating since he broke up with Amanda. And it was like, we hadn't even been on any dates. And get that into your head. We're never gonna be a couple. I love Kevin, not you. You were just creepy on me this time. And then, before he could say anything, Kevin just closed the door, locked it, and we stood there. And a few minutes later, David just walked off, drunk, of course. And when my parents came home later in the evening, I informed them. But my dad was a little bit concerned, but my mom was like, maybe he was just a little bit lovesick. That he wanted to be with someone and that he thought that I was attractive. But even though she did understand and completely agreed, it was a little bit strange because since me and Kevin have been dating for at least a while now, but that was not the only thing. Shortly after the Independence Day, I started to see David more and more around town. It either at my work or it around in town. When I was with Kevin, I always saw David in a far distance, and I know that because sometimes I saw him in his car, and if I was alone, he was basically almost just only a few feet behind me. Then even if I'm by my mom, he just walked up to us without any problem, acting as we're just still friends. And even at this point, my mom and my dad was completely aware of this. And they were starting to get a bit worried about my safety because it later turned out David actually had a handgun or firearm. I was now very worried that he would even use that against me as some sort of revenge that I was breaking his heart all the time. But luckily for me, it never happened. But I was still worried about that he would even use it on me or Kevin or perhaps even my family, which made me even more terrified. But overall, David continued to stalk me around in town, even at work. I even have informed my boss and the manager about this, and they agreed. It was a very odd because I should mention the manager is actually an old family friend. He was like an uncle to me, and he didn't take any of these kind of things so lightly. So one time when David came in, He told David to immediately just leave the store because he's trespassing and is not even allowed in the store anymore. But it still didn't stop David from even show up near my work. Even the security guard had been informed and even been given a photo of David so to be known who he is. And well, at least one positive thing, he never actually stepped inside because my family's friend, the uncle I call him, it's a very big guy and it's not one you want to mess around with, even though he's merely just a big teddy bear. But anyways, David started to follow me around a lot more, and one evening when I was just home alone, Kevin was at work and my parents was out for another friend. I was in my bed reading and I heard his tapping on my window. And I first thought maybe it was just a bug that was flying into my window, but the pattern repeatedly, almost very frequent, which isn't unnatural. So when I get up the window, I removed the curtain a little bit, and shocking, there stood David. He was holding, well, flowers. He was holding flowers from my mom's garden, apparently, and he tried to ask me out on a date. And the frankly to be saying that is the not even romantic way to do it, honestly. And when I told my mom about this, she was furious because she loved her flowers garden, and if someone messing around with it, she would not be happy. Well, she would accept if the flowers was dead or something, but just picking the small flowers is not a good thing to do. Even Kevin know about that. Just saying. I told him, just get off of my property, my family's property, or I will call 911 on him. He then dropped the flowers and stamped on them and just huffed and walked off. And before then, he turned around and said, "You will be mine." You hear that? He screamed and just walked off. When my parents came home that same evening, I informed them. They believed me because my mom saw her flowers still outside my window, and it's just, and luckily we even had those doorbell camera that was facing the street, saw him walking off. My parents, now they were even more scared of anything, especially when I told them what he said to me. But still, there wasn't much they, even if we want to report this, but there wasn't much they could have done. Since technically David hadn't even harmed me in a way, and he always complied to the rules, even though my families were quite worried about my safety, especially about David's odd behavior. But I told my family I'm not going to stay anywhere or even leave town despite for a few weeks to be with some of my relatives for safety. And after that, I did texted David just telling him to back off. I am never even interested in him and never will, because this behavior of him is very creeping me out. And if he wouldn't stay away, I would tell the police on this. And I didn't even receive a message back from him. But he saw it, which is a good thing. And I even texted Amanda, and this is the actual first time I even talked to her in such a while now. I basically told her what David has been doing to me, and she texted me and said, "What David is doing to me is something I was just, well, in her words, what happened to me, what that David had been doing to me, is something I had seen coming." Because she believed and still said to me that I was the cause of the breakup. And I told her the last night that I said to her, "Fine, if you don't want to help your oldest friend in from harm, we will never want to be friends." So that was the last time I told her, and I blocked her number, and well, it was quiet for a while after this. I didn't even see David at my work or even at my house or basically anywhere. But I know that he was somewhere around me, but I didn't see him anywhere. And honestly, though, I am pretty much was worried around for days. But then, it the most creepiest and the most terrifying happened. Sometime later on, both my parents was out of town to see an old friend's birthday from high school apparently. And so I was home alone and I wouldn't mind that. I mean, it had been a while since I even seen or even heard from David. But when I was in my bed that same evening around maybe 7 p.m. just watching some movie, I literally heard a knocking at the front door. I was like, could maybe it was one neighbors or something. I mean, in the past, my parents always had one of our neighbors just walk over to see if I was doing okay or something. So, but I didn't open the door. I looked for the people, and it was not one of my neighbors. It was David. And it was clearly that he was under some influence, either drugs or alcohol. I'm not sure. At least at the time, I didn't wasn't sure. But luckily, though, I wasn't that stupid to open the door. I asked him what he wanted. He asked to be let in so we could talk. He wanted me to give him a chance, and I was like, not again. I told him firmly to leave my house, leave my family's property. I never want to even to see or talk to him ever again. I'm never even interested in him. But then he said, if you don't open the door right now, I will kick it in and kill you. Because if I can't hear you, if I can't have you, no one else will. And your dear Kevin is next target. And well, lucky for me, the door was locked, and I told him firmly I'm calling for 911. Then he started slamming himself against the door. And sad to be saying, this door wasn't even that steady enough. It wouldn't even take long for someone to kick it down. So I ran to my bedroom, locked the door, and pushed the dresser in front of the door, and immediately called for 911 for help. The dispatcher, the operator told me that they will have a, a car nearby. It will totally take him maybe 5 minutes, and it told me to just stay tight, keep myself armed if needed. I told him that this guy who's bringing in actually has a firearm, but I don't know if he's actually armed or not. I won't even want to know or even figure out. So, what happened? After that, I hung up and I did call my parents, but since they were several miles away, there was nothing they can do, and they couldn't even do anything because both my parents has been drinking, so they couldn't drive safely on the road. But they were at least sober enough to be about to happen. And I then called Kevin. Luckily though, he just got home from work, and I just gave them a brief statement of what is happening, and he's like, alright, I will be there in less than 5 minutes. Try to stay safe. And he hung up. I was worried because I heard the same moment the front door was kicked in, and I could hear David screaming his slurred words like, Alice, Alice, where are you, little honey bunny? We're gonna have some fun. And more like a singing maniac type of tone. And I was horrified. And then I heard it. A shot. David was armed with his firearm, which terrified me a lot more. I didn't know what to do. I mean, my bedroom door was locked and the dresser in front of it, and I know eventually he would be able to get in, and there was no other place in my house I could even run to hide. Then it hit me. The window. I could open the window and climb out it and hide somewhere else outside. And while I was trying to open my window, I heard him walking around to my parents' room, smash around the things around, trash it, and along other places. I heard one other shot, and then he was outside my door, and he was almost singing, "I found your lover. You're gonna have some fun before I end your life." I was horrified, but as that was happening, I heard another voice. It was not the police. It was Kevin. Kevin said almost by the front door, "David, give yourself up. The police are already on the way." But David hadn't had his almost complete meltdown breakdown. It's like, the police will never want to catch me. I will make you the culprit. As they would even believe you, oh, I won't even be here. Well, I dare you even to do that, he said. Then I heard David leave, and then I heard his scuffling in the living room area. But I climbed on the window, and as was just about to walk on the front side, I heard at least 2 more gunshots. And then it was silence. I was horrified that David had killed Kevin. But as that happened, the police arrived, and I ran out the front door in the front yard and told them I was one of the owner. I lived in this house, and my boyfriend was in the living room, and this guy who I know has been stalking me is inside, and he just fired 2 more shots, and I don't know if any of them are hurt or not. So just after the police arrived, another squad car showed up, and sometime later, an ambulance was arrived. The EMTs and the police found that David did in fact shot Kevin twice in the shoulder, in his left shoulder and his spine though, and David was out cold. It turned out just before he did it, David was knocked out cold by Kevin by using some sort of a lamp on his head. David was arrested for burglary, murder attempt, for murder attempt and murder, and stalking and murder, and even harassing, all that stuff. Luckily though, he was sent to at least 30 years in jail, and I was at least happy about it. And I told Amanda once again when I, over text message, I unblocked her and texted her once again, but she just said, "Well, at least you get out of this, but I don't want to see you or anything again." And then she blocked me, and I blocked her. So, but since then, I had even heard or seen her, and I missed that. I mean, I missed my best friend. But in the end, wasn't even worth it to even try to reach out to her after what she accused me and even blamed me from her breakup. No, it's not worth it. My family and Kevin, which I still to get together with today, told me both sides that maybe it was best that Amanda wasn't my friend anymore. I mean, I still miss her, but my family and my boyfriend has a point. So, Amanda, I'm sorry if I missed you and I lost you, my best friend. You were like a sister to me. But it's probably best that we never meet ever again. And David, you belong where you do belong, behind bars. And I really hope you get help for your mental breakdown. You stay away from me. Another bonus part of it, I did manage to arrange a restraining order against David. So that's a good thing. And that's my story about that. Thank you.